Hola, what is up, beautiful spirits being humans? Maria here from Branches, Shamanic Soul Sisters. It has been some time since I have jumped on and done a solo video. It's been some time since I've done anything as far as kind of sharing my voice. Sam and I, some of you are probably aware, we have a podcast. But actually, our last episode aired the week of July 4th because it's summertime and we've both been traveling and doing all sorts of stuff. So, taking a little hiatus, but we will be back in a couple weeks. So, I'm excited to jump on that again. Um, and I personally have been going through a lot of my own internal shifts these last couple of months as well, which has been, you know, challenging, but also enlightening and freeing all at the same time. So I'm really just jumping on real quick today, I think, to kind of just talk about shadow work a little bit, which I know Sam and I have done a podcast where we talked about shadow work. I post about it all the time on my social media for those of you that follow me. Um, and I kind of just want to not oversimplify the process of it, but break it down a little bit because I think there's a lot of us that we hear that term, we don't even know what it means, right? And I know, Sam and I are both coaches, health coaches, empowerment coaches, spiritual coaches, whatever you want to call it. Um, but yeah, we both do coaching, and I know both of us do shadow work in our own kind of way. And I know for me, all my clients that I do coaching with, they all come with, different things that they want to work on, right? Obviously. Um, but in some way, shape, or form, there's always an aspect of shadow work that's covered in my coaching because I've learned in my own journey that that is quite honestly the most beneficial thing in being able to heal, shift, evolve, ascend, right? All these fancy words we use, which is really just releasing these lower energies that have kept us in this unconscious fear loop, basically, right? It's kept us in survival mode most of our lives. So I kind of want to just break down, and just simplify when I'm referring to shadow work, what it actually is. Because that's usually the first question I get from people, like, what does that even mean? Right. And I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, what is that? Um, the term of it was actually coined by Carl Jung, a psychologist way back when. Couldn't even tell you the actual year, but he is the one that basically gave sort of a definition to shadow work. And in very, very basic breakdown of it, literally, it's just making the unconscious conscious. Okay. So when you talk about like our brain, and the different parts of it, we have the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is, think of it as you can think of it as a computer, but also like a recorder at the same time. So it's always running. Even when like our physical body goes to bed, like the subconscious mind doesn't shut off. It's on 24/7, 24/7. And it's basically just acting as a receiver, or even a sponge. That is another analogy that gives you a good visual. And it's literally just taking in everything from the external, right? It's taking in words, it's taking in the vibration of everything, um, our subconscious mind. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, which any of you that follow me know that I have referenced his work before. He has this great quote that basically says, by the time we are 35 years old, we are all of us, everybody in a human avatar, is operating off of 95% of our subconscious mind. Subconscious, meaning semi conscious, meaning not aware, right? It's just a program. And so when we look at this external world, the system that runs this dimension of things, um, It's all programming, right? That's why anybody that listens to me, you probably hear me say it all the time. We're programmed, we're programmed, we are programmed beings. We are already, in my perspective, a form of AI, to be honest, right? Everybody talks about AI coming in and taking over, and we're just creating different forms of it now. Well, not really even different. These things have always existed, but nonetheless, it's the intention behind these things, right? Um, but in my perspective, the human avatar already is AI in many ways because we are heavily programmed and we pretty much show up in our daily life as a robotic program of the external system and then how we as an individual have sort of programmed ourselves. So the shadow is just the unconscious parts of us. It's the parts that have been blocked out. The subconscious mind, it works with the ego. In my perspective, it's kind of one and the same to some degree because the ego is that part of us that wants to keep us protected. It wants to keep us safe. It wants to keep us comfortable, basically. So it's the ego part of us that does not like to feel uncomfortable emotions. It does not like to feel pain. It does not like to acknowledge trauma, right? Because if we acknowledge it, well, then it makes it real and now we have to feel it, kind of thing. So the ego and the subconscious mind, I don't know, one and the same to me, but they work together hand in hand on basically keeping us, the human, in the dark of from a multitude of things. So when we talk in the terms of like trauma, right? If we experience a trauma, and I could get into this, I could go into a whole thing about trauma, but I'm not gonna go there. Basically, all I'll say about trauma is all trauma is feeling unsafe in the body. So big trauma, little trauma, right? Again, our subconscious mind doesn't discern, oh, this is a big trauma that happened to me and this is a little trauma. It all it knows is trauma. It knows when we, the human, don't feel safe in our body. And that could be safe physically, mentally, emotionally, or all of the above, right? So what happens is that's when our fight or flight mechanism turns on, right? So if you think about living in survival mode most of our life, because most of us do, because that's what we've been programmed to do. And then you take the quote of Dispenza that says by the time we're 35, we're operating off of 95% of our subconscious. It basically tells me we're robots. Like we don't even know what we're doing anymore. Like it's this program has now taken over. We're very robotic. And we also, as humans, don't, like I said, we don't like to feel uncomfortable emotions, even though ironically, as spirits, that's what we wanted to come down and do, was feel all of the human emotions on all scales. But when we're here in the illusion of this reality, um, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, it's hard. That's the duality, that's the polarity that we're here to learn from. And that is why I say shadow work is the light work. It's one and the same to me, right? I use this analogy with somebody today because as we do shadow work, but even as we do light work, those of you that are doing any sort of work on yourself, I feel like you'll understand what I'm about to say. Whether we're doing shadow work and really sitting with those gucky feelings, or we're doing light work and we're just getting a healing, or we're meditating, or we're on a retreat, right? And everything feels aligned and love and great, right? For the most part, after that integration has happened in the body, we go through a spiral of emotions again, right? So it's what's happening is we're just shifting energies in our body. That's it. So when we shift energies, we feel them more. That's the point of it. When there's all these mantras and things like I release, I want to release, I want to release, but people don't really comprehend what that means when we're putting that out to the universe. What does it mean when we're saying we want to release it? Well, it doesn't just mean somebody please come take it away so I don't feel it. When we're actually putting that intention out, we're asking those energies that are buried deep, deep, deep in our subconscious, deep in all of our organs and all of our layers. We're asking them to come up to the surface, to rise to the surface. Guess what happens when that happens? You feel them more. So when we're putting out all of these things, release, remove, and then we think like, okay, now I'm just going to feel better. That's not actually how it works. Like, you actually now have to sit with that, what you're releasing. And I've been doing shadow work, very, very intentional, conscious shadow work for over 4 years now. And quite honestly, that is the only reason I'm able to, quote unquote, tap into my spiritual gifts. It is through my shadow work, because in the shadow, in these parts that we're very afraid to look at and acknowledge, are also our gifts. This is why there's no, like, you can't like bypass this. And it's the same thing with what's going on in the external world right now. The collective shadow is being exposed because there is more light on the earth plane, meaning more human avatars are holding more light in their body. What happens with that? More shadow, more darkness is exposed. Picture a dark room, pitch black room, and you walk in with a flashlight, right? Now, you don't know what's in that dark room, but it doesn't change what's in that dark room. The fact that you can't physically see it, it doesn't mean it's not there or it is there, right? It's whatever exists in that room is whatever exists in that room. Now you take a flashlight and you start shining it. What is that flashlight doing? It's exposing the things that are there. And so, as the human that's going through this ascension process, this evolution process, again, we have all these like fancy names. And when you break it down, it's all just energy. And it's just a matter of right now, we're living in a dense reality. I feel like the majority of this earth plane, yeah, uh, I feel like a majority of it is in a fourth dimension, meaning we're waking up from the slumber, um, of the complete unconsciousness, and starting to become conscious. So like the lights are turning on in all of these dark rooms, and all of these truths, all of these realities are being exposed. And the powers that be that have dark agendas, they have agendas that are rooted and based in fear. That's really what it is. It's all a fear-based paradigm, a fear-based narrative. Because quite ironically, these energies that are running it are a fear consciousness. They are a fear energy. And so what does fear love? It loves more fear. It loves to incite more fear. So the powers that be that literally run this entire earth plane operate off of fear. They are fear. If you could picture fear energy and you stick it into an avatar, that's what these beings, these energies are. It's fear energy. And so if we as individuals can't look at our own fears, our own insecurities, our own attachments, because attachment is a form of fear, if we cannot sit with that, acknowledge it, and feel it to its magnitude, we we won't be able to see outside the game for what it is. We will not be able to look at the fear that is being exposed every single day, right? Now, there's the fear agenda of the mainstream media where like they're just pumping partial truths or blatant lies, right? That is all just putting people into this state of paranoia, hysteria, fear. Because what happens when we're in fear, we're easy to control, and then we, quote unquote, follow what we're told to do because our nervous system doesn't feel safe. And it's like, somebody just tell me what to do to be safe. Okay. So you won't be able to see through the illusion of the pandemic, that they're amping that right back up again, because here we are. Time is quite truly an illusion. This is why history repeats itself, because there's still a lot of physical bodies on this earth plane that cannot see that, right? Then we have a lot of people that I would refer to as more in a fourth dimension, 3 4 3 4. This is not judgment either. This is purely observation of my own experiences toggling in and out of these dimensions, and also observing other people and discerning the energy. It's not a judgment thing. It's just what state of consciousness, what dimension am I operating from in this now moment? And what is that person operating from, right? It's not a judgment thing, but it's recognizing that, like, so the 4D is okay, we are actually starting to do a lot of external research. We are questioning everything we're told about this reality because something don't feel right. And now we're starting to see all these other truths, which for the most part will negate what we were basically taught to believe growing up. So many of us are like, oh my God, everything is opposite from what we were taught. In many ways, it is, but that's the duality of things too. And so that fourth dimension, it's just a state of awareness. It's just a state of consciousness. But when you're embodying that energy in your body, that is how you are perceiving life. That's how you're receiving life. That's how you're projecting life. Okay. So fourth dimension, again, we're doing this external research. We're starting to question things. And then we're starting to do some internal research, meaning like starting to like feel our shit, starting to become aware of fears that maybe we had semi-awareness, or like just things that are like, wow, I never even knew that was a fear of mine, right? So there's this stages of introspection we're also doing in that fourth dimension. But in that fourth dimension is when the fear is really exposed. So what happens when fear is exposed? We feel it more, even more than when we were in 3D. 3D, we were just fear, right? We were just like this unconscious state of fear. So we may have felt it, but we had our ego had a very intelligent way of kind of talking us out, like, no, you're not afraid of that. And, again, protecting us falsely, but protecting us. So then 4D, it's like now shit's getting real because, again, the flashlight in all of these dark rooms is hitting that and it's hitting that. And so it's like, shit, I can't look away. I can't not see it. Fuck, I can't not feel it, right? Fourth dimension. So there's a lot of fear that is released in the fourth dimension. It's just what it is. It's just, again, it's just energy. So this like fourth dimension is what I feel like many of us are toggling in. I personally feel like I go from 4-5, 4-5, 4-5, 4-5, also down to 3, meaning there's parts of me that are still unconscious, right? I'm not fully awake, because I could probably be, moving my computer telepathically, or with telekinesis. I was just talking about this with my husband, telekinesis. But it's like I know I'm not fully operating in fifth dimension and beyond, right? I know that. Um, but I can very easily connect with that when I'm doing sessions and just like when I sit down to meditate. And sometimes just like it just spontaneously happens throughout the day. So I can discern, I can feel when I'm in that state, I can feel when I'm in 4D, and then I can recognize when I've been operating off of a 3D, meaning like a very unconscious pattern. It's like, holy, but then all of a sudden I see that. So now I'm in that fourth D state of awareness. It's like, oh, now it's exposed. That behavior pattern's exposed, right? So shadow work, again, it's just making the unconscious parts of us conscious. Shadow work internally, shadow work externally. It's making all of the dark agendas come to light. It doesn't make them any more real now than they were 20 years ago. It doesn't make them any less real. It's just that now that there's an awareness of it. So when there's an awareness of it, you feel it more. You can't look away from it. It's in your face. You can look away from it. But I promise you this, these things will keep coming up. Hence why here we are with pandemic round number. Who the fuck even knows at this point? Because again, there's still a lot of unconsciousness throughout the entire earth plane. So in order for the game to keep evolving, we have to like kind of play the same game again and see if we're starting to see beyond it a little bit more this time, right? That's what we're in right now. All of these things are going to keep happening to wake people up. What does wake people up mean? Just make you more conscious, make you more aware of who you actually are. I'm not talking about your egoic personality, your persona, your labels that you've created in the human experience. They're beautiful, they're great, part of the human experience, but it's not actually who you are. It's not who you are. That's not your light body. That's the egoic persona of us that, yes, becomes an aspect of our soul, because that's the whole thing, people, is that our soul, our spirit, our light body, whatever you want to call it, literally wanted to incarnate into all different physical forms: human form, animal form, plant form, weather patterns. Like, we have incarnated into so many different things on this physical plane. Why? Oh, because we just wanted to experience it, basically. That's really like the stupid, simple kind of, why are we here? What are we doing? We all ask that question. We're actually here to experience physicality. We're here to experience duality, the illusion of duality, to actually remember we're all from one source. We're all source energy fragmented out, creating our own little mini realities. But all that information is always uploaded to source. It's constantly being uploaded. That's the cloud. you know, Not the cloud of this Earth game, but that's the cloud. Like that, it's constant. It's a constant. There's no disconnect either. We're never actually disconnected from source. If we hold the belief we are, that is what will block us from connecting with our spiritual gifts, right? They're not even gifts. I'm sorry. It's just who we are. We're spirits being humans. We're spirits being humans. We're energy in a physical body. So they're not gifts. It's just who we are at our core. And because this Earth game has literally taught us the opposite, and taught us to believe in this very limited linearity kind of illusion, that's what a lot of us are still trapped in. That's how people talk about how moving from one dimension to another, again, it's just state of awareness and states of consciousness. That's why, for me, breaking all of my limiting beliefs is what helps me to move out of the lower dimensions, the lower vibrations, because I recognize that 3D is one giant limiting belief. 4D ain't far behind it. 4D is like, it's like the opposite limiting belief of 3D, but it's still very linear and limited. It's still like this perspective of show me the proof, and this is the only truth. Whoa, it almost kind of rhymes. But that's literally like how I'm like seeing it. It's like 4D is like, show me the proof, show me the disproof of what I was taught in 3D, because that's an illusion. And 3D is created because we're programmed to believe these beliefs, and we don't question it, and we just believe it. So we create it. It's like that simple. The sky is blue. Why? Because that's a program of 3D. So we all look up and we see a blue sky. The sky's not blue. The sky's not even really there. But again, in 3D, that is what we're all programmed to believe. So as a collective, we create that. 4D, like I said, there's a lot of the same thing going on. But now what's happening is like we're questioning everything in 3D, and we're in this state of everything's opposite. Yes and no, but it's just a state of awareness. It's like, okay, 4D is now starting to, let's say, think for ourselves in a sense. So now we're questioning the programs that have been dropped into us since birth, right? And so we're like, wow, it's nothing like what they told us. So now we create this fourth dimensional Earth where this is truth and this is true, because here's the proof and here's the validation, here's the evidence, right? Still very linear, still very limited, because there's still this perspective that this is the only truth. You move beyond that, you move to 5D and beyond. And that is where I connect with this limitless quantum, it's all true kind of energy. It's that truth doesn't make the other truth any less true. They're all truths because they've all been created as some kind of a reality in this physical game. So, I've listened to a lot of different people over the years. This last year, I've noticed I've taken a big step back. Not for any reason, it's just sort of intuitively guided. I listen to whoever I feel intuitively guided to listen to. And same thing with what I watch and what I read. All just intuitively What can I get from this? What can I learn from this? How can I expand from this? How can I question my own new belief system and continue to expand beyond that? But this last year, I've noticed I've been a lot less like seeking external perspectives. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just expressing how my journey has gone thus far. But in my listening to all these different people, there's a lot of perspectives on how many dimensions of Earth there are. I've heard 12, I've heard 15, I've heard 18, I've heard all these different, like, not even just dimensions of Earth, just dimensions in general. So even outside the Earth plane. And what goes through my head is that all these people are teaching still from very linear perspective. Like, I don't see numbers of dimensions. Even the whole 3D, 4D, it's just the terminology I feel like we have to use here to break down something that is beyond our human mind to comprehend. It's just beyond it. So we create these little, like, well, this is 3D, this is 4D, this is blah, blah. To me, like, anything above the fourth dimension is just this higher energy of love, of limitlessness, of holding a space of all truths are true, all realities are real. So you look at this earth plane and you start to wake up to all this dark agenda that's been hidden in plain sight forever. It's always been there again. And you go, oh my God, the world is a mess. The world is asleep. The world is this trauma based, sex crazed, fear narrative, like all this, like, it's fear, right? So then you go, oh my God. And then you think that's the only reality. You forget that we live in a polarity duality. So for as much dark, there's as much light. For as much light, there's as much dark. So there's just as much love as there is fear. And that's what we're feeling all the time, is the duality of that, right? But even from the higher perspectives, the duality is an illusion. And the only way I can express my experience is I've literally, through my shamanic practice, when I took the apprenticeship, we had an assignment where we merged with source, with creator, with the oneness of it all, and asked to see through the perspective of that. And I still have that journey written down. I have been energetically brought to that journey multiple times since having that experience to help me kind of understand this crazy, like, beautiful experience. And I can still see what I drew out, and I can remember the message. And the message was that love is the ultimate truth. Love is source, basically. Love is light, unconditional love. I'm not talking about this love paradigm we've been taught down here on earth that's more rooted in attachment, not actually the energy of unconditional love. So love, like, I literally remember merging with source and looking down, but you're not even looking down. It's like you're just looking out. And I remember seeing, like, all realities, but they're not all. It's wild. Like, it's such a hard thing to put into, like, even a human to explain it. But it was like I was seeing that it's all true, and love embodies all of it. Love embodies all truths. There's no right or wrong. Because there's no judgment in unconditional love. The right, wrong thing, good, bad is all stemmed out of judgment. It's, ego. It's human construct. It's part of the physical experience. But outside of that physicality, when you're merged with that perspective of just the energy of things, that pure observer, like, we all think we're the observer. No, we're learning how to be an observer. We're still very much not the observer yet, because we're still in a lot of us in our humanness. All of us, we're all still in our humanness. It's how often are we being the observer? How often are we, like, in our humanness, right? Again, no judgment. It's just part of this evolution. But connecting with that source energy, being the observer, fully self-actualized, remembering who I am as source, and realizing that everything down below me is also me. That's source. That's merging with the oneness of it all. That is full self-actualization. That is no amnesia. That's not being in a physical body and forgetting that I'm an aspect of source. That's being one with source and going, oh my God, Maria Gingras is source. And then all my other incarnations, which we won't even get into. So yeah, I'm like not really sure where I'm going with all of this. I mean, I do, I don't. Again, the intent was to jump in and talk about shadow work. So let me pull it back there because I tend to, when I start talking about this kind of stuff, it's like, it's deep shit. So I can kind of just keep going. But nonetheless, the whole point is shadow work. And again, shadow work is the unconsciousness in all of us. It is the unconsciousness of the entire earth plane. It doesn't make, when it's brought to light, again, it doesn't make it any more worse than it was before, any better, any more real, any less real. It's always been a reality. It's all a reality. All realities are possible. We do live in a quantum field. This is the quantum field, but not if you're attached to a belief that it's not. And that is my point about getting stuck in different states of awareness. If the perspective still has a timestamp on it or this linearity, limited energy to it, then that is the reality you will live in and you will create from and you will see. So it's really hard because we've all been programmed to be in a 3D perspective, a 3D energy, limited, completely limited. The earth is round, the earth is flat, the moon is fake, the moon is real. Like all of these, like this way is right, which makes this way wrong, right? That's that's limited. That's being inside of a box. 3D, we're in a box. 4D, the box is just a bit bigger, but we're still in a box because we're still, again, needing validation, needing physical. See that? See, we're needing physical proof. Beyond that, we have transcended physicality. We can still experience physical things, but it's different. It's choosing to still be able to experience something physical, but knowing that that is not the end all be all, and knowing that that physicality is not limited. We're still in these bodies that we perceive to be limited. That's why people don't know how to heal themselves, because we've literally been taught the opposite, that we need all these things outside of us to heal us. But imagine if you fully embodied the belief that you could heal anything in your body, because you can. We all can. But I guess the whole point of this video to explain shadow work, but also kind of break down the dimensions, the levels of awareness, and to help people really recognize, where are you still limited? Where are your beliefs still in a linear construct, in a box? Just picture a box, right? Then you at least know where you're creating from. That's what it's for, your own self-awareness. That's what all of this is for. It's for you to take these bits and pieces and apply it as you feel you want to, right? Like, don't take anything I ever say as the end all be all, because literally everything I just said, everything's limitless. I'm only offering my understanding of these different dimensions as I've experienced them, and how I've kind of, I don't know, remembered. And I feel like my higher self helps me to explain it in a way that can be digested, I guess, from a human understanding. Because it's hard. A lot of what I experience, I could never even put into words and explain to people. And that's okay. I've learned to really kind of accept that and see that that's kind of beautiful in a sense. Still can be annoying because it's like you just want to be able to explain it. My ego does. And I just want that validation. Hence, that's what I mean. 4D, man. That's what I'm saying. how easily you can be in that 4D. And again, there's no right or wrong with any of it. It's all experience, and it's all just, where's my awareness at today? Where's my self-awareness? Where's my awareness of the surroundings? Where's my awareness at? Like, am I numbing out of stuff? Am I not trying to feel things? Am I trying not to acknowledge things because it's uncomfortable? Like, that's fine. That's a choice, right? And the more conscious you become, the more conscious that choice becomes. But there like becomes this point, I feel, as we do hit a certain state of consciousness or awareness, that like you can't you can't you can try to shove those things aside that you don't want to look at and feel, but I promise you, those shadow aspects will continuously present an opportunity to be seen and felt. And this is where that whole surrender comes in. It's like, what does surrender mean? It actually means like, I have to listen to you right now. I have to feel this really uncomfortable emotion right now. Look, I just had a memory that I completely blocked out from childhood that just came in full force, and I'm feeling it like I'm right back there again. And now I have to feel this, don't I? Okay. So, all right. And I share this because this is something I've experienced recently, which, i.e., thus my internal shifts I made reference to at the beginning of this video. July 11th onward has been a challenging time for me because I remembered something from a long, long, long time ago that has been coming back to my conscious awareness over the last couple of years in bits and pieces. But my higher self knows how to drip those bits and pieces so I can accept, integrate, accept, integrate for like the big bomb kind of thing, right? So when this memory came in, it was like there was nothing inside of me that knew it wasn't true. I knew it's a memory. It was a memory. And I don't think I'm going to share it in this video, but it will be shared soon. But it was shadow coming up that needed to come up and needed to be felt and dealt with. How did I deal with it? I cried. I got angry, not at anybody. I did it in my safe space, and I felt my shit for as long as I needed to feel it. I let it process. I just processed it. And then, just like every time I go through energy shifts, I always mentally and emotionally purge first, and then somehow my body physically purges it shortly after. So then I go through what, we would say, oh my God, I'm sick. I knew it was just purging everything that I had just processed because it was heavy. It was heavy. But it was necessary. It was a weight that needed to be lifted to grow and to heal and to be able to use it for medicine for other people, because I'm not the only person that I'm sure has experienced something of that magnitude. I know I'm not. Hence why I get all the clients I get. We have very similar, very different lives, right? But very similar insecurities and energies, born from similar traumas, but none of our traumas are cookie cutter all the same. None of us are, yes, we all are from source, but we have chosen to create individual experiences, individual soul signatures, if you will. So we all process things differently. What I perceive as trauma, somebody else might not, and vice versa. So honoring that individuality while also knowing that we're connected to the oneness of it all, that's part of all of this, right? So my friend, shadow work doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be bad. I'm not going to lie, it can be uncomfortable many times, but it's so freeing. It is so empowering. It is so transforming. Again, I'm able to connect. I'm not, and this is not coming from ego. This is owning my power, which I would love for the entire human race to be able to do, own our power, right? And what I'm about to say is that I can connect pretty quickly with higher energies because I trust it. I trust it. I've practiced. All my client, how do you do this? Well, first I practiced when I learned how to journey and meditate. I had to practice, just like anything. I had to create a new routine, a new way of doing life. I had to practice it. Just like, if you want to work out your muscles, work out certain parts of your body, you don't go to the gym one time and one and done. Like I had to practice. I had to learn to start untraining that conditioned mind, letting that part of it go so I could connect with things beyond what I can physically see. So it was practice. So dedication, right? I don't know, dedication to wanting more for myself. And then it was trusting it and choosing to trust it, choosing to ignore the voice of doubt that's like, you're crazy what you're seeing. This is crazy. What like, you don't really believe. Like, that is batshit nuts. You're not going to tell somebody that's what you're seeing, right? You have to learn to work through that voice because we all have it. So then it's a choice of trust. Now I'm going to trust what I'm connecting with, what I'm experiencing, whether it's clairvoyantly, clairsentient, feeling it, knowing it, whatever. I'm just going to trust it. The more you trust it, the more it comes and the more it's validated to you. It's wild. But the only way I've been able to do that is to feel into all of my shadow and all of the painful stuff that's been blocking all of these blocking. But yes, that's been blocking all of these gifts. The trauma, the fear. It's fear, my friends. It's just fear. Break it down, stupid, simple. The shadow is just fear. It lives in fear. It is fear. It is the unconscious part that doesn't want to feel uncomfortable because the human body feels everything. And so when you're in a human body, you feel everything if you allow yourself to. That is healing. We want to know how to heal ourselves. And again, like what I was saying, I just want to release it. I just want it healed. You have to feel it, not numb out, not distract, not tell yourself, get over it. You're not feeling this way. Not using pleasure instead of like feeling it. Like again, you have to sit with it and feel it. Feel it. It's like the guidance is very simple. To do it is not easy. Why? Because it's uncomfortable as fuck. That's why. That's what makes it not easy. It's uncomfortable. I don't like to feel angry. I don't like to feel depression. I don't like to feel pain. I don't like to feel betrayal. I don't like to feel sadness. I don't like to feel any of those things. I'm sure as fuck most of you don't either, right? It's not fun to feel these things. It's not fun to grieve. It's not fun to worry. But if we deny ourselves feeling fully into that emotion, our body still carries it somewhere. Our organs, trust me, I do enough energy work on people that I can see where all these energies are quote unquote trapped. We're just the body's just holding on to it because the mind has not connected with the heart that does not live in fear. The heart does not live in fear. The heart is trust. The heart trusts. The heart is love. The heart is source. Okay. So the mind is not connected with the heart. So the human in the body doesn't want to feel the discomfort. The heart actually welcomes it because it knows that in that discomfort, in that cocooning, right? Transformation happens, this rebirth happens, this jolt of liberation happens. So, my friends, shadow work is the light work is the shadow work. It's one and the same. Dark room, turn on the light. Turn on the love. Turn that love on. Oh, what did love just show? What did love just expose? Okay. But guess what? Love doesn't judge what it exposes. That's where I say 4D is where many of us are. We're in the state of exposing things, but we have judgment to what we're exposing. And of course we do. It's some fucked up shit we're exposing. So as a human that's been victimized, of course we have judgment. Of course we have opinion of what's being exposed. That is 4D. That is the fourth dimension, right? There's nothing wrong with it, but just know that when you're in a state of judgment, just like you'll stay in the box. You'll stay in the box, and that's fine. You have to become aware of what you're judging first to be able to release your judgment. It's like, oh shit, I'm judging that right now. I can sit here as a very authentic spirit in a human body and tell you, I still have judgment towards the system. I still have judgment towards these dark agendas that are happening. There's judgment. There's another part of me that doesn't judge it and knows the higher perspective and accepts it, loves it. But I'm still very much in my humanness. And so there's still judgment, right? So again, shadow work is the light work is the shadow work. Light, love, exposes, does not judge. Exposes because it exposes, meaning it just acknowledges it and sees it. It's like, oh wow, wow. Now I see that. That was dark before. I couldn't see in that room, but now I can see that. Wow, okay. So that's a reality. Whoa. Okay, cool. So now let me look over here. Well, that's a reality too. That reality is like not a nice reality, but that one is. Okay. So does that nice reality negate the negative reality and vice versa? Or does it make it any less true? No, it doesn't. They're all true. So this is where I say when we become conscious creators, what reality do we want to start to focus on and create from? Doesn't mean we're negating these other realities. We're very aware that they're there. But now we're starting to shift out of 4D a little bit and go, okay, so this reality, this feels more aligned with where I want to go. So I'm going to focus my energy on that. It doesn't negate the truth of this other one. It doesn't mean that this other reality is not true or that it's not happening. I'm very aware of it. But I don't want to live in that box anymore. I want to create an expansive, not even a box anymore. I want to be out of a box. I want to just create this. I want to create again from the quantum, from the limitless realm. So there you go. That's all I have for tonight. I remember part of what I said, but not all of it. But I know it's about shadow work and the dimensions, and I'm here to empower you to not be afraid of the shadow. Do not be afraid of the shadow. The shadow is always there. And the more you live in fear of it, the more you are giving your control to it. The more you are actually living, your body is actually living in fight or flight. And guess what happens when we live in survival mode all the time? We eventually get sick. The body can only hold that energy for so long before something's got to give. So, see the shadow, my friends, and be the light. Love ya.